Hi guys, today I will be talking about relationships. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not a licensed therapist, I am not a professional. The only experience I have is being in many toxic relationships. I feel like I just have a lot of knowledge to share with the world, and I do give a lot of relationship advice. So I hope you guys enjoy this relationship Q&A. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not a professional. I'm just a traumatized human being. So I will be reading off questions on my phone. I also did write some of my responses on here as well, only because a lot of these questions are very heavy and I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things. And let's start off a little easy. Do you recommend dating apps? What are your thoughts on them? I think that dating apps are a great tool for meeting new people. Me personally, I haven't used any dating apps, but I did meet a lot of my previous partners and my current partner on social media. I've met someone on Tumblr, I've met someone on Twitter, which I highly advise against. I have met someone on Instagram, so I'm definitely not against dating apps. I've heard some really good things about it, and I've also heard some really terrible things about it as well. So I think it's just important to practice safety when it comes to, using dating apps. How do you move from being friends to lovers? How to get over shyness and feel more? Me personally, I'm a very straightforward person when it comes to dating. I feel like if I really like you, I will make that quite obvious, and if I feel that the feelings aren't reciprocated, then I will just focus my attention elsewhere. Life is too short to not take those risks when it comes to dating. I think that the dating pool is so vast, so even if you are rejected by one person, you'll meet someone else, so long as you expand your horizons. I don't think you should limit yourself because of rejection. I don't think you should be too hard on yourself, because rejection comes in all forms and it's something that you should be exposed to, really. I think it will help you a lot in the future if you get used to rejection. How to get over loneliness and heartbreak after wasting years with someone in your late 20s. I think that more people need to make peace with being lonely. I think that there's nothing wrong with being alone. I quite enjoy it a lot, actually. It's important to kind of invest in yourself in terms of your hobbies or, any sort of interest that you have. I think the way to get over loneliness is to make peace with it, really. Again, it's okay to be alone. You're born alone and you die alone, so it's important to really just keep that in mind. Get over a heartbreak. What I would do is I would physically write down on a piece of paper the things that you did not like about that person, the things that they've done to you that you did not like as well, the things that didn't work out in your relationship. And I feel like just reading it over and over again will kind of help you realize that that person was not meant for you. And I think the sooner you come to terms with the fact that you two weren't meant to be, the better off you're going to be in the future. How do you manage serious discussions / bringing them up? So the thing that you choose to overlook in a relationship will be the thing that ultimately ruins your relationship. I think that if something bothers you, it's something worth discussing with your partner, especially if it's something that they did. Me personally, if I were to overlook that and try to move on, it would eat me alive and it would be in the back of my mind and I would think about it all the time. And I feel like I would become a very evil person. I will become very passive. I'll be a huge asshole because I'll be constantly thinking about the thing that they did. It's definitely worth bringing up a discussion. I think that the foundation to a good relationship is open communication, first and foremost. I think that if you don't have open communication, then it's not really a connection worth having. The thing about long-term relationships is you're going to have uncomfortable conversations. The important part about the difficult conversations is how you navigate through them together as a couple. So definitely bring up things that bother you, whether it makes you look crazy or not. Bring that shit up, because you'll feel much better afterwards. And also seeing how they respond to you bringing that up. If they choose to disregard it, call you crazy, or gaslight you, that just goes to show what kind of person they are. And it really gives you time to reflect on whether you even want to be in that relationship or not. So I think that it's really important to bring up difficult topics. What does it mean when a girl doesn't want anything serious with you but still wants to go out with you? Either she does not like you and she's using you, or she genuinely does not want to be in a relationship, which is completely fine. I know a lot of people who are super against committing, and yeah, it's all preference, I guess. If that's something that you're not willing to do, like be with someone who doesn't want to commit, then I would find someone else. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. How do I accept that I'm not my type's type? I feel like having a type mindset is very limiting. I think that you should get rid of the type mindset. I feel like we live in a very progressive time. I don't think I really even have a type. I think I just like people who are funny and charismatic and are really good at video games. So character traits are more important than falling into some type of strange category of a type. How do you get through hard times in your relationship? I think it's really important to take care of yourself throughout your entire relationship. I also think it's really important to prioritize your partner's needs. When it comes to long-term relationships, you kind of have to practice acts of selflessness. You can't be as selfish as you were when you were single. You definitely have to be a little more thoughtful, and it's important to be a really good shoulder to cry on. It's important to be a really good listener. You don't have to have the best advice to give your partner. Not so much listening, but active listening is very important. It's important to be very empathetic. I don't know if I already said that or not. I think I did. But practicing empathy is very important. And if you're not a naturally empathetic person, I don't think that you should be or even consider long-term relationships. You should probably see a therapist, and you might be psychotic. But lack of empathy is a really bad thing in relationships. I think it's important to remember why you love that person, the things that they've done for you, the things that you've done for them. Reassurance goes a long way as well. How do you keep the excitement in a long-term relationship? I think the best way to keep excitement in your relationships is to plan spontaneous dates, keep track of the things that they like or want to buy and maybe surprise them with that. Plan a picnic date with their favorite food. Send an occasional nude photo. Spice up your sex life. Maybe get some sex toys or something. Try to get into their hobbies and take interest in things that they really enjoy so that you can do it together. There's a lot of different ways to keep your relationship exciting. I think you just shouldn't give up on that person. You should never get too comfortable in relationships as well. I find that being content in relationships can kind of ruin them long term. I think you should always find ways to surprise your partner and keep that excitement going. Do you believe if he wanted to, he would, and why? Yes, absolutely. I believe in if he wanted to, he he would, because men are not that stupid, and if they really like you, they're willing to do whatever it takes to make you stay. Sometimes men can be a little clueless, so you do kind of have to tell them the things that you want, and if he is willing to give you the things that you want, then by all means, tell him what you want. If he doesn't want to give you the things that you're asking for, I don't think he's worth keeping around. In your opinion, what are non-negotiable traits a relationship need to have? Love you. Love you too. My non-negotiables in a relationship are open communication, trust, and honesty. I think those are really important traits. Also, physical attraction. Physical attraction is a really important thing to me now, because I've had my fair share of ugly men, and honestly, the ugly guy is gonna hurt you just as bad as the hot guy. When they're more attractive, it kind of makes things a little more easy to deal with, a little more tolerable. So I definitely would recommend dating someone that you're physically attracted to, but by all means, date the ugly guy. Just know that he's very much capable of treating you poorly. What does commitment look like in your lens and from a general view as you know it? Commitment to me is the duration of the relationship. I'm thinking long term. When you're committed to someone, you're committed to them as a person, and the fact that you will have to make a lot of sacrifices for them in the future, as well as compromises. So to me, commitment is long term. Have you ever done long distance? If yes, any advice? Yes, I have done long distance, and I would strongly advise against it. I think that, especially if you're young, I think you should explore the options that you have around you, just to kind of get that experience in the realm of dating. Long distance relationships are very difficult. Like, you go very long periods of time without seeing each other, so it's hard to kind of build that connection with someone who's so far away. Not saying that it's physically impossible, but it will be very difficult. And usually in long distance relationships, they're monogamous, and to kind of expect that of someone, monogamy, is asking a lot. Not saying that it's impossible, but I think that it's a lot to ask for. And yes, I have been in a long distance relationship, but we weren't that far from each other. We were about 4 hours away, and we would make the conscious effort to see each other like once a month. And going a month without seeing my partner was really fucking hard. It's like torture. It's really like torture. Have you ever had a good breakup? If so, did you remain friends? I personally have never had a good breakup. All of my exes turned evil all of a sudden when we broke up. So no, I'm not on good terms with any of my exes. And that's all I'm gonna say. Does the honeymoon phase truly ever fade away? The honeymoon phase definitely comes and goes in waves. I know that I get really excited when I have trips to look forward to with my partner. I also feel like I'm in the honeymoon phase when we talk about our future together. So I think that when you have something to look forward to in the future with your partner, that can keep things within the honeymoon phase. I also think that if you're really in love, you'll never really leave the honeymoon phase. How to stop being jealous and possessive, please. The best way to stop being jealous and possessive is to direct that energy into something a little more positive, like maybe get into a hobby. And I also think it's a lot of inner work that needs to be done. I think you need to work on your self-confidence a little more, or a lot more. There are so many other things that you can be doing with your time instead of obsessively lurking their likes, going through their following list, going through their follower list. Learn how to knit. or take a pottery class, or maybe read a book. There's so many different things that can be done instead of be crazy. And that's something I had to learn. It's also not a good look to be crazy. You have to kind of be more confident and sure of yourself. How does one navigate mental illness in a relationship? When does it all become too much? Mental illness in a relationship is a really tough thing to have to go through. I personally have dated someone who frequently had suicidal ideations, you know, and I would take it upon myself to try to make them feel better, but ultimately that's not your job, and you need to take a step back and really think about whether that relationship is worth persevering through or not. If you are struggling with a mental illness, it's a lot to ask someone to be there for you. I think that the person struggling with mental illness definitely needs to take some accountability and try to figure out ways that they can get better, whether it be through therapy or medication. If that person is not taking the initiative to get better, I think you should definitely reconsider the entire relationship. It takes a huge toll on yourself to be there for someone who doesn't want to live anymore. It's really not your job to help them navigate through that. But if you do really love them, that's really on you. Mental illness kind of was the final straw for me when it came to my last relationship. Things got very violent and dark, and I realized that that's not something that I wanted to put myself through anymore. And it's okay to take a step back from that. It's okay to remove yourself from that situation. You will struggle with it a little bit when you look back at it in the future, but honestly, you're not a therapist, you know? It's not your job. Is forgiving bad? Should you always forgive? Me personally, for my mental health, I like to be forgiving. To hold a grudge takes a huge part of you mentally. I also think that people are capable of learning from their mistakes and growing as a person. So I think that you can forgive to a degree, but some people do some unforgivable things. And yes, you can forgive them for the sake of moving on, but that's not something that you should forget. You should remember. You should always remember the things that they've done to you. I just think that forgiveness is really important. Is it normal to go through a hating your girlfriend phase for no actual reason? I'm going crazy. I'm not going to normalize that. I don't think it's normal to hate your significant other. However, there are situations in which that person will do something bad enough to make you hate them. That's the whole thing about being in a long-term relationship, is navigating through those hardships together. And yeah, I think that sometimes love is enough to help you get through those hardships, but a majority of the time it's not enough, and you're just gonna have to let it go. No, it's not normal for your significant other to hate you, but it is possible. And unfortunately, it is common. What to do if your boyfriend got a work girlfriend? I think you should leave him if he has a work girlfriend, because that's essentially cheating. Imagine your boyfriend wrapping his arms around his work wife from the back, tickling her and making her giggle. Imagine them calling each other work wife or work husband. Does that not make you sick to your stomach? Me personally, I don't know how I would remain sane in that situation. And I personally would not put myself in that situation. But if you do find yourself in that situation, you can easily remove yourself from it. And yes, just makes me feel sick. Well, I think I'm pretty much done with this relationship Q&A. I think that I had a very interesting time responding to your guys' questions. I will be coming out with a sex education Q&A probably within the next week or so. But thanks again to those who submit questions for me to answer. I'm very grateful for you guys taking interest in what I have to say. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!